Good evening. It's several days since those young, beautiful children were taken captive. There's been a lot of ink written, a lot of false ideas, some of which have been articulated by assimilated Jews. One article that appeared in Vox has to be opposed, and not just opposed, but completely shown the garbage that it is. The writer, I think his last name is Schreiber, says Israel is responsible for the abduction of those three boys because of the occupation. I have news for you, Mr. Schreiber. There is no occupation. If there is an occupation in Samaria and Judea, it's that Arabs are living on Jewish land. Hebron belongs to the Jews. Hebron is the city where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are buried. Ishmael is not buried in Hebron. It's got nothing to do with the Arabs. Hebron is a Jewish city occupied by hundreds of thousands of people who in 1929 murdered, raped, pillaged, and destroyed the 10,000 soul Jewish community and chased them out. That's what Hebron was. Hebron was a Jewish city, even in modern times. Jerusalem is not occupied. Before 1948, fully 2/3 of the residents of the old city of Jerusalem were Jewish. The so-called Arab quarter was really Jewish houses. You go through the so-called Arab quarter and you will see patchworks of cement where mezuzahs were, Mr. Schreiber. You don't know your history. You also know nothing of the Bible. Judea and Samaria are Jewish land. And your suggestion that occupation causes abduction is like a pretty girl walking down the street and she invites the rapist. You justify the villain by vilifying the victim. Let me tell you something else. They did an internal survey in Jerusalem several years ago when they were negotiating. Barak was negotiating with Arafat on the future of the old city. And they did an internal survey. The majority of the Arabs living in Old Jerusalem don't want to be under the PA. Do you know why? Because Israel's a democracy. And the so-called Palestinians is a thuggery. It's a bunch of tyrants and cruel chieftains and people who steal from others living off the fat of the land. Find out what really goes on in Gaza before you talk. The Arabs who live in Israel have the right to worship, to own property, to pursue their dreams. No Arab woman could pursue her dreams under the thuggeries of the Palestinians and Hamas. Most Arabs would have their income severely curtailed by those gangsters. Any Arab who's a Christian will be severely persecuted under the Palestinian Authority. The Jews are the best thing that happened to those people. It's not an occupation. It's a liberation. The land of Judea and Samaria is Jewish land. The Arabs are occupiers. And it is in the best interest of the Arabs that the Jews remain in charge, because that way they can pursue their dreams of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as they do in this country. Mr. Schreiber, you're just a foolish liberal writer. Take a look what's going on with ISIS. And everything that happens with ISIS is what goes on in Hamas. And that's what goes on with the thugs in the PA. Maybe you should come live there for a while before you write your stupidity.